This is MJ, which actually stands for Minifer.
But everybody just calls me MJ. I said, I was embarrassed. So give you a little bit back of my story. So we owned a house before, 7 years before. I had a business partner that committed suicide. I took my house and I used my house as collateral for the business. Well, when he committed suicide, the bank called the loan in. And when they called the loan in, my house was part of that. And I had to file bankruptcy, not because of me, but because my business partners, both of their husbands committed suicide. And so they wanted cash because you can't get cash from insurance if you kill yourself. So my house was part of that, and so I lost my house. And so I gave up the dream of thinking I could ever own a house again. And so when I saw his ad and then he came in, he had me do an evaluation. I did the evaluation, and my credit was terrible.
Wasn't great.
No, terrible. It's terrible.
Collections, even a repoed car, stuff like that. He basically had every type of credit problem that you can fix in a small amount of time.
But on the car note, here's the cool thing about it. In the car note, I never missed a payment. But what they did was they had something called gap insurance. And so I didn't pay the gap insurance because I paid the car off. And they called themselves repoing the car. But they never had the car, which was the weirdest thing in the world. But it wound up being on my credit. So with his system, I fought it and I won. So if anything I can say to anyone that's out there, if you were truly trying to buy a house, I always say that, you got to do what you got to do in order to do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. And you got to look at the ugliness. But as Bruce Lee says, you got to pull down in the ugliness and pull out the positiveness. And that positiveness is now the house that we have, which has actually gone up in value since we got a house.
Dude, crazily. So how long have you had the house now? About
2 years.
2 years. Okay, so this is nuts. So just the home prices, just so you guys know, I helped somebody buy a slightly distressed house with a zero down program, July 2020. Mm-hmm. We're looking at doing a refinance for him now, and just the way the loan's set up, it starts at like 120% loan to value just because of the program. We're refinancing him at 85% loan to value. So in less than a year, it's already as if he put 15% down. Mm-hmm. It's just nuts.
It's nuts. And from there, as we, did this program, it just helped us out. And before you know it, when he said that, I asked him, I was like, oh, there's no way we'll get this. And I said, hey, we want to look at a house, but we need a pre-approval letter. And he went through and he said, hey, you can get a pre-approval letter. And I'm like, stop playing. And I thought I was only going to get a pre-approval letter for like $100,000. I think, I have that cloud of the foreclosure over my head that now that you got this foreclosure and you got this car thing, you'll never be able to get anything. But like I said, I followed his program, and voila.
I think you were basically there in like 4 months.
Yeah.
And it was 4 months, and it was 4 months to fix a lot. It wasn't, and you put the work in, because like what I always promise both when real estate agents, when I'd like pitch myself or clients is, I'm not magic, but I know exactly how to play the game, and there is purposeful and ignorant total disinformation about how the game is played. So if you just give someone the playbook mm-hmm. of like, this is what you need to do, just go do it. If you get stuck or you're not sure what one of them means, call me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you just put in the work, and you're hardly the only person I've been able to help that way, and I'd love to help more people, because that's how I make money. I make money when you get your home.
Right. And folks, the one thing that I'll add as a caveat, you got to be able to do the work, as he said, but also what you have to do is you have to learn to become disciplined. And so what I mean by the discipline, so what I did was, the problem that we had, shoebox, I just didn't trust banks. I'm just going to keep it 100 and keep it real. And so that was from my grandparents from the Depression, Great Depression. And so I still had that mindset. So I would take money and put it in the shoebox. Well, I saved up enough money in 2 years. I think it was close to $40,000. It was like $40,000 of just me saving out of my paycheck and just putting it in the shoebox. But what I ran into is that having that kind of cash on hand, was kind of hard. But luckily, what I did was every time I would cash my paycheck, I would get an envelope and I would get a receipt. And so for every dollar that I had, there was a receipt that went with it, and just in a shoebox. And the reason why I use the shoebox is because if it's in the bank, you're going to spend it because it's in the bank. if it's in the shoebox, you kind of forget about it that it's in the shoebox. And then when you look up, you're like, oh, dang, I got that kind of money? And you don't realize that you've got that kind of money. And that's an old school savings tip from my grandmother that I still use today. So,
and it's okay. Different people do different things. But there is sometimes some friction in, planning how and where and when the money came from. That is a really great reason to talk to me well before you want to move in. It's one of the things I try to ask him is like, well, if it was up to you, how soon would you move into the new house? Like, don't think about your problems. And, sometimes people say a year from now and they mean it, and I ask why, and there's a reason. But most of the time it's like right now. Mm-hmm. Well, ideally, and this is ideally, even if you think you have everything dialed in, what I would want to do for you is start the process where we have our interview together and we run your credit like 90 days ahead of time. Mm-hmm. Because, I talked to you how like super common that I can tell someone how to get like 40 points. Mm-hmm. It's super common that somebody who's honestly doing everything right has something stupid on their credit. And if you already have if you're already in contract to buy the home, you're just going to pay for that. But if we have like 90 days, mm-hmm. I'll just tell you how to fix it. Boom, gone, may cost you nothing.
Yep. And to add on to that, and the reason why I raised my hand is because we had that exact situation. There was a credit card that I had filed a police report because my car got broken into, but that credit card got taken, cashed out, and I never knew anything about it. I never even received the credit card. So mm-hmm. basically what they did was they used my information, got a credit card, but it was on my credit report. And so instead of hiring somebody, and you have to be real careful with a lot of these so-called credit cleanup people. Some are good, not saying they're all bad, but I would say 90% of them are trash because it's something you can do simple by just sending a letter to the collection agency and disputing it. And companies have, I think it's 30 days to dispute whatever information that you're disputing. And if they can't prove it, they have to take it off. And the one thing I've learned is that if a second creditor buys it, that means the debt has been written off and you can fight that. And so, but if you work with a system, and I'm not being paid, so I want everybody to know I'm not being paid a dime. Well, I take that back. I did.
He's been asking, but yeah. I've been saying no.
I did get paid. I got paid. I got a chance to play with his kids today. So that's my payment. So I'm happy. I'm thrilled. But no, folks, if you follow what he's given, it's a little, I would call it unorthodox, but it works. Because sometimes you need unorthodox ways of dealing with things, especially when you have difficult situations. Because if you go with what's traditional, you're never going to get approved. But if you go with the orthodox way, and what I mean by unorthodox is that you have to be able to put in the work yourself. If you put in the work along with him, I can guarantee you, because I also have a friend who you also got a house.
Yeah.
So it works, folks. So if you're looking at, I put it this way, I'm over 50, and I thought that there was no way in the world that someone was going to get a 50-year-old guy a house.
You felt trapped by time because you heard the word credit history.
Yep.
A million times. Mm-hmm. Your credit score isn't a history.
No.
It literally does not matter what was on your credit bureau last month. It just matters what's on it right now.
Right. And the FICO score.
For the FICO score. Yes, for the FICO score.
So if I can add in that the credit booster on that, don't waste your time. That is literally garbage.
Don't do Experian Boost.
Yeah. It's just a sales gimmick. And I fell into that trap. I was looking at my credit score and they had it like at 300. And that was because of the car situation. And lo and behold, there was a class action lawsuit, and I actually was a part of that class action suit and won. And that removed the car. The car was paid in full. They paid me for it, and they gave me 300 points for credit. So mine was a very unique situation, and my credit score, shot up far from a FICO standpoint.
What is actually fulfilling is I talk to a lot of people who have basically been laughed out of banks or credit unions, or they got in contract, were pre-approved, and then got denied, which also sucks. Mm-hmm. And getting someone a home at that point, and usually being way cheaper anyways, is actually fulfilling.
Can we talk about one of the things that almost stopped us from getting a house?
I don't know.
So, folks, one of the things that stopped. So I have a son from a previous relationship before I was married. And there's child support. Now, I am caught up, not late or anything, but remember not the mortgage company, but the title company wanted
to... Oh, yeah, that was weird.
The title company did not want us to get the house because I was paying child support, which was the weirdest thing. And we I call it at the last second of the last minute, you know, I had told John, I was like, you know, hey man, we're done. This is not going to work. They're not going to approve me.
And I was like, no, I got this.
And he was so cool, calm, and collective like a cucumber. And I was like, I'm over here stressing out. And this dude was like, we got it.
Yeah, we got it.
And when he called me and said, we got it. And I didn't believe him. I was like, man, stop playing. Nah, I'm done. And it happened. So folks, like I said before, I am not a paid actor. I'm not doing this for publicity. I'm doing this because, one, I believe in what he does, and I'm proof of what he does. And I also have another friend, Ashley. Her and her husband were in the same situation, and they wind up buying a house, and they're probably just ecstatic. Matter of fact, I'll ask if she wants to do an interview.
Yeah.
So, but folks, if it's someone you want to work with, I would highly recommend. If you want to call me. We can talk. You know, to let you know that this is legit. This is real. This is a real person. So, man, I'm always forever humble, thankful, grateful. You know, and whatever you need me, I'm gonna always be there, man, because you made a dream come true that I thought would never come true.